Thanks for tuning into this lesson. We're going to be talking about polynomial division, specifically a method called synthetic division. But first, let's review a couple polynomial operations before we begin. So we have two polynomials, f of x and g of x. F of x is 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 5x plus 1. G of x is x plus 2. We want to do the following things. We want to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Now, we should know or have been exposed to how to add, subtract, multiply two polynomials. So you just go through the process of adding, which is basically combining like terms. So is subtracting to an extent, and multiplication is distributing and doing some box method. So we're going to go through and look at those three methods real quickly, and then we'll get into the division part, which should be brand new to you guys. So let's start with addition. We know with addition, we're essentially just combining like terms. So you have the one function, two functions, even if it's in parentheses, you don't really need the parentheses. So I lift them off, ignore them. Combine your like terms, keep track of your signs, make sure they combine. -5 and 1, add to -4. If you need to use a calculator, do that. And then of course the 1 and 2 give you 3. And that's your answer. Those are pretty straightforward. If you would like, you can check on Desmos. I have this already graphed on here, where if you put the two functions in f of x and g of x, and you do a little test, what is f of x plus g of x? Take a look at what that graph looks like. And if you put your answer in, you can see that overlapping it. So you know that, hey, those are going to be the same graph. So I know that 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 4x plus 3 is my answer. And that's the idea there. So let's move on to subtraction now. So for subtraction, pretty similar. When you have a minus sign outside of a polynomial, you're not just subtracting the first term in that polynomial. So you want to distribute those negatives. And if there was a minus sign in there, it's going to be flipped to positive. But these are both positive, so that'll become both negatives. So we have minus x minus 2. Similar to last time, combine your like terms. And maybe that's your answer, 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 6x minus 1. And we can graph that. And just double check that those two graphs overlap each other, which they do. Multiplication, if you see the fg times x, that's f of x times g of x. That one doesn't have an operation written between it, but if it doesn't have anything between it, we assume it's multiplication. You may have learned this as distributive property or box method. Here's a display of the box method for you guys. When you do the box method, you're going to lay out all your terms, preferably in descending order, on one of the dimensions, and then the other dimensions, you'll do the other one. So keep your signs and just multiply within. So you got the 2x cubed times x, those get distributed. That's 2x to the 4th power. 3x squared times x, 3x to the 3rd power. Negative 5x times x, negative 5x squared, and then the 1 times x is going to be x. And do the same thing with the 2. Distribute that 2 throughout, so that's going to be 4x cubed, 6x squared, negative 10x, and 2. And then when it's all said and done, you're going to combine your like terms. So you have the 3x cubed and the 4x cubed are going to combine. And then you have the negative 5x squared, 6x squared, and the negative 10x and the x. And when you put it all together, you should get 2x to the 4th plus 7x cubed plus 1x squared, you can just say x squared, minus 9x plus 2. And that's your answer. So multiplication, box method, again, just for consistency, graph them. No shame in taking an extra little bit of time just to make sure those two graphs line up. So that should have been something you've done before. Now division might be brand new. You may have learned another division technique called long division, which we'll go over in a different video, but for a synthetic division, we haven't learned this technique. To divide, now you may see it as the division symbol, a slash, or as a fraction. I tell you, most commonly, you're going to see it written as a fraction. But we don't have the techniques for that yet, so there's been a method called synthetic division. Here's how it lays out, okay? First, you're going to make a template. So go ahead and take a piece of paper, make a kind of a box over here. Some people put a full box, an L. That's kind of teacher preference, how they want to stylize that. Give yourself some space to the right of it and a little bit below, and then put a horizontal line. You're going to be putting numbers into that template. That's first step. Second step is you take your divisor. Your divisor is the thing on the bottom of your fraction, your denominator. You are going to change the sign of it. So since that says x plus 2, we're going to make it -2 and put that number in the box. We're only dealing with integers. We're not dealing with other numbers or other variables. Your third step is to write out your coefficients from your expression. So look for any missing terms. You have 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 5x plus 1. Everything is in order. We don't have to worry about filling anything in. Lay those coefficients out. So you got the 2, the 3, the -5, and the 1. And you put those to the right of the number in the box. Now, next thing is you're going to drop down that first number. So whatever that first number is here, that 2, we're going to drop that down and bring it below the line. That part's super important, okay? From there, you're going to have a sequence of steps that are going to kind of get repeated back and forth. That first step is you're going to take that number down there that you just dropped. You're going to multiply it by the number in the box. 2 times -2. In this case, it gives you -4. So you're going to take that -4. You're going to write it below the next number, but above the line. So it's going to be -4 there. Once you do that, you're going to combine those two numbers that are vertical together. So 3 plus -4. So, you know, 3 plus -4 is really 3 minus 4. That's going to give you -1. And you repeat that process like you did with the 2, this time with the -1. So you do -1 times -2, which is +2. That number gets written below the next number. So you have this -5, that 2 gets written here. Repeat the combination. So -5 plus 2 gives you -3. And then repeat it again. So -3 times -2, +6. Throw it down below the 1, combine them, you get 7. So we don't have any other numbers that we have to fill out in that template. We've listed all the numbers, so there's no more space. So now what we do is we actually look at the numbers down below the line and we write an expression in terms of x. Since we started with an x to the third power in this case, and we're dividing by an x, we're going to bump that exponent down to an x squared. Okay, x cubed divided by x is x squared. That's going to be the variable next to the first number. So 2x squared. All right, so if you keep going down, then the -1 is going to have an x. And there's nothing below an x, so the -3 is a -3. So your expression is 2x squared minus 1x, or minus x minus 3. But then you have this other number hanging out. Now that number, it's not a term, it's a remainder. When you divide, a lot of times you have leftover, you have remainders. That's the 7, that's what that is. So the way that you write your remainder is you always put it over your divisor. So your divisor was x plus 2 over here. So we're going to write plus 7 over x plus 2. So your final answer is 2x squared minus x minus 1x minus 3, and then your remainder plus 7 over x plus 2. Now we can still do the graphing thing. So again, we're going to graph 2x squared minus x minus 3 plus 7 over x plus 2. We're going to compare that and see how it compared to f of x divided by g of x. So when you have them divided, that's what it should look like. And as you can see, it overlaps it. So those two graphs are equivalent. So that means we did the work right. So we're going to do some practice. I want you to get some paper out, try a couple things. We'll do the first one together. I'm not going to go over the last one for you. So get some paper, pencil, open up Desmos. And here's our first problem. We want to divide 3x to the 4th power minus 2x squared plus x minus 5 divided by x minus 1. Now, if you would like to try this before I go over it, pause the video, try it on your own, and then you can continue playing and you can see the rest of the slide in the video. So you can check your answer that way too. So if you've paused it, welcome back. If you're just following along, write the following things down. Okay, so we're gonna put some work down. What we'll do is we'll first, let me switch to my pen mode here. Hold on a second. Okay, sorry for that delay. I wanted to make sure I was able to write on this. So we're gonna set up our synthetic division. You can write here on the Pear Deck, and you can change the size of the writing too. So if you need this pen to be smaller or whatever, it's really up to you. You can annotate on it. If you don't have a device that you're able to annotate on, it's not a big deal. Just get some paper out and you can do it there. So to set up the division, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take that number there, we're gonna switch it. So it's gonna be 1. And we're going to write that in a little box. Then we're going to list our coefficients out. So we have 3. And there is a minus 2x squared. So remember we started with a 4, 3x to the 4th power minus 2x squared. Where's the x to the 3rd power? All right, we're missing that. Well, in the case of a missing term, you put a 0 in there. So this is going to be 0x to the 3rd, kind of sandwiched in between the 3x to the 4th and the minus 2x squared. So resuming our numbers, we'll have a -2 for the -2. The x, that's 1, so 1, and then the -5. So there are your 5 coefficients that 0 kind of sneak in and hide in there. 3, 0, -2, 1, and -5. And of course, that x minus 1, that 1 is going to get changed to +1. Now let's do your horizontal line here. And let's bring it down. So we're going to bring down that first number. In this case, it's a 3. So we'll bring down the 3. We're going to take that 3, we're going to multiply it by the 1. And we're going to place that number right under the next number. So the 0 there will have the 3 below it. Those two get added, and you're going to get 3 below the line again. So that number is, again, 3. So you're going to put 3 right over there times the 1. 3 times 1 is 3. Combine these two together. Those add to -2 and 3 give you 1. So we have 1. Again, do another multiplication. 1 times 1, that's going to be 1. Combine those two together. 1 and 1 is 2. Multiply. 2 times 1 is 2. We're almost done. And then combine your last two numbers, -5, +2. That gives you -3. So that's a lot of numbers. Remember, the -3 is your remainder. So we call that remainder, or R, I like to call that. And we're going to write out our expression. So think about that 3. We started with the 4th power. That means this is going to be 3x to the 3rd power. So you're going to bump that down 1. This is going to be plus 3x squared. Now the 1 is going to be, you can write 1x. You can just write x if you want. And then that's going to be plus 2. And then remember your remainder, that gets written over your divisor. So it's going to be minus, since it's a negative, 3 over x minus 1. So that is your answer. Hopefully you got something like that. If you need to see a more visually appealing breakdown, look at the next slides. Pause this if you need to, so you can write this down all at once. And if you'd rather just look at it step by step, here you go. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure we switch that negative to a positive, bring down the 3, put it all in the template, and put that 0 in the place here since it's missing it. Perform your calculations. These should be the same numbers we got before. Bring down the 3, multiply, write it down below 0, add, bring it down, multiply, so forth and so forth. Write your expression. Make sure your remainder goes over your divisor. And then finally, we graph it. We always want to graph these. So we're going to put this in Desmos. We're going to make sure you'd need to type this to clarify. This is something you need to type. This is the last one that's going to be done for you. So you would type the original expression in, type your answer in, see if they overlap. That way you know you got it done right. And then finally, we have from the previous problem, what is the remainder? Well, that remainder, we can go back and check, but that remainder should be, what was that? -3, -3. So we'll put -3 there. All right, so this is the last one. And I will go over it if you ask me in class. So this is your expression. You just try it, do the best you can on it, get some paper out, show your work. Which one of those is going to give you, when you divide x cubed plus 2x squared minus 20x minus 10 divided by x minus 4, what do you get? Which one is equivalent? Get your answer, check it in Desmos, and be prepared to share with the class. Thanks for watching.